Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Unfinished Business, a podcast for veterans pursuing new life missions. 35 years of service shapes a person. It shapes the way you wake up, the way you carry responsibility, the way you see the world. Discipline becomes rhythm, commitment becomes feasting, and when the chapter closes, something quieter begins. A different kind of adjustment, a different kind of purpose. For Lieutenant Commander E.A. Rex King III, that life of long-term service did not disappear. It settled into who he is. And in a later season, Donna Snow King entered that story, not at the beginning, but at the meaningful chapter where experience, faith, and intentional partnership carried weight. Together, they share a love for radio, the patience of listening, the clarity of signal, the discipline of connection. They share a life of prayer that is not loud, but not performative, but steady. In a time when many veterans quietly wrestle with purpose after uniform, their story carries something worth leaning into. Today is not about medals or timelines. It's about what remains. It's about connection to each other, to faith, to the mission that continues long after formal service ends. Donna, Rex, it's a pleasure having you on the Unfinished Business podcast, a podcast for veterans pursuing new life missions. When you heard that introduction, what went through your mind?
Just living back to what my career was and how I transitioned into civilian life and carried a lot of my military with me.
Donna, what were your thoughts about that cold opening?
It really basically described Rex from what I perceived his life before me was, and it definitely covered our life after there was an us.
Wow, that's amazing. And I'm just looking out from the 30,000 foot view of who your lives are, what your lives represent from a spiritual sense, from a level of camaraderie and faithfulness, and it's been for me. I've been contemplating having you on the podcast for months.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah, absolutely. And it was just like I want to get to know these guys. They just have a really warm heart, and I wanted to sit down with y'all today and get to know y'all better. So it's a pleasure having you here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That, yeah.
Gosh.
Absolutely. Rex, when you began your service as a Vietnam veteran, as a radio man, when you think about those early years working in communication, what did the world demand of you?
Perfection. That covers a lot. But when you're copying Morse code and handling messages, decoding messages, your integrity has to be beyond reproach. You have to have, when you have a top secret clearance, you read every message that comes to the command and fleet messages as well. And with all the knowledge you have of what's going on and who's doing it, you can't speak of it to anyone. You have to keep that, and I've learned to do that over the years, and I've kept confidences from my not only the military, but those who've shared their private thoughts with me. And it's very important to be perfect. You can't misspell a word, or it might change if you put the comma in the wrong place. It could change the entire meaning of a paragraph, which could be orders to a subordinate. So we have to keep those absolutely perfect. And so I did that and got my license when I was 11, just went on from there.
That is so cool. And I never thought of it that way, that your communication has to be perfect because there's lives on the line. There's serious risk if you don't do it if you don't say it the right way or communicate it the right way.
Absolutely. Lives are at stake. If I take grid coordinates for a fire mission and I miss one number in that grid coordinate, of course, people that don't understand our world don't know what grid coordinates are, but they're locations on a map other than latitude and longitude. We often use grid coordinates. And if I miss one character, miss one number, and I could put friendly fire down on our troops and kill our own men. So my mission was always perfection.
Wow, that's insane. I didn't even think about that. When you look at Morse code at that time, what was the different? Or like during that time, Morse code was, I guess that was the prominent way to communicate or to.
Well, it was faster and more accurate. When you're in voice communications, you often hear the word "say again." If you've been in the field, you know what I'm talking about. With Morse code, I can get a message through, even with bad atmospherics, bad conditions, atmospheric conditions and other radio. I can get a message through, and it was actually over 100 years old. It was a good, accurate form of communication. It still is today. We can't communicate with some countries unless we use Morse code.
Yeah, that man. When I was doing my research on both of y'all, like, I was saying, what's a radio man? Like, I mean, I knew in a general sense, but once I got underneath the hood and I started, it was very complex for me to kind of put it together. But now that you're sitting here with me today, I have a kind of a better understanding of like, okay, now I understand what, like, one thing, one mistake, one word different, one comma different. It could change the whole thing. Over 35 years in the Navy.
Yes, sir. Now, active and reserve. Yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah. And what did that life require of you the most that you never see?
Well, the discipline that we don't see in the civilian life, like we were talking earlier, 15 minutes ahead is right on time for an appointment. Always do your best to put on a professional. Everything has to be professional, accurate, honest. You can't advance in the military without the characteristics of trustworthiness, of honor. You have to maintain your honor at all times, and it became even more when I became an officer. My honor was always on the line. You don't lie. You take full responsibility. Today, you don't hear that in the civilian world, especially with politicians. My deal was no excuse. It was and I don't apologize. I tell my superiors what I'm going to do to correct that so it won't happen again.
Yeah, that's a big one. It's to say, hey, like, I made a mistake, and this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to ensure to. That's kind of a strategy as far as rehabilitating your trust and repairing whatever wrongs have happened too.
Correct.
When how did your career transcend itself? You started off like how does that career for Radioman? Give us a little bit of that.
Well, I was 17 when I joined. I had the draft board on my 6, and I was about to turn 18, and I knew I was going to be snatched up. This is 1965, and we're drafting left and right. So my mother was a naval aviator in World War II, and my dad was in the Texas 12th Armored Division, ETO. And I went to the recruiter. I had a friend of mine named Carl. We grew up together, and each of the branches had quotas, not like we do today. I can only take so many people, because they knew the draft was going to get everybody. So when you wanted to join a service other than the Army, you had to see if they had an opening. And there was one opening in the Marines and one in the Navy. Carl got the Marines and I got the Navy. And unfortunately, Carl lost both of his eyes in Vietnam. And we were at Balboa Naval Hospital, and I introduced him to amateur radio because he was in a very dark spot. And he became an amateur radio licensee and still is today, very active on the radio bands. And it brought him out of his very, very dark hole.
That's beautiful. Is that something he like in Brea? Is that something he has to use?
Yes.
Yeah. That's an amazing story, for a lot of combat veterans or those that have experienced war after Vietnam. For myself, I lean heavily on reading books about Vietnam. Like when I was deployed, it was like you have to get in a mental space.
Yes, you do.
You know, like understand that what you're experiencing here in the desert is not the same thing as in the jungle. You know, and that was one of the things I leaned heavily on is to just get the mindset of understanding that, you know, this is not that kind of war, and you see what's in front of you more so than you see, you know, behind
Oh, yeah.
on each side of you many times, and you know, and I think that helped me stabilize a little bit of my experience, you know, in my deployment. Do you see that? Do you
Yeah,
do you see?
yeah.
Did you lean into World War One, World War Two?
Absolutely, I did. Tactics are everything, especially if you're in the ground. You know, if you're in country, there's no new tactics. You learn from mistakes of other tactics. Yes, you come up with something different, but reading history, there was one book, War as I Knew It, by Patton, and I truly admired the man. I thought he was his writing was it was a little bit odd, but his book was what was in it was spot on for someone in combat and leading men into combat. He understood history like nobody else I ever met in books, and I learned so much from him. And others, George Marshall, Admiral Nimitz is one of my heroes. So was Bull Halsey, and and so well, I thought I hit a button. Anyway,
Take it out. I think if it's
no,
okay. There we go. Okay. Sure.
there were so many people that I met that in books that I could apply to my life. One of the ones I didn't like was MacArthur. He was more political than he was a statistician. So I learned lots of things, and it's applied in my life. And I knew the faith of some of these great admirals too, like Spruance, and Ollie Burke. He was very religious. Well, he had great faith. There's a difference between just being religious and having great faith, and he had great faith, and found that with Nimitz as well. He had a deep faith, and I read that in you could see it in the books that were written about him.
That's amazing, man. You have such a high IQ. You know, just having reading, you know, wisdom like from those generals and leaders in the military. You know, it's that. I mean, now I'm here. I'm kind of blown away as many at the many people that got you that you many military leaders that you were dialed into. You know, how much of that? You know, lieutenant commander. You became a lieutenant commander. No one, not everybody reaches that.
No.
Right.
Well, especially if you're former enlisted.
Yeah.
One of my bosses, you might have heard of him, Robert Samuel Morrison. Admiral Morrison was a World War II hero, Korean hero, and he was commander of the 7th Fleet, which was everything out there along Vietnam. And he had a wayward son. You might have heard of him, Jim Morrison.
No. Wow.
You want a career ender, go in there with an 8-track tape and ask the admiral to sign it. You'll find your orders when you walk out. You're going someplace dark and not unheard of.
Well, tell them how you became a lieutenant commander.
That'd be
I was on a riverboat and driving. I was on destroyers, and then I got reassigned to riverboats. Somebody said, "You're from Texas." I said, "Yes, sir." "I'll bet you know I drive a bass boat." That was wrong answer. Anyway, I was the Uber driver for the Marines around Way City on the Perfume River. And I was very popular because I could make foam patches. People in the military after us had internet and wonderful things that we didn't have.
Yeah.
But I would use my government-issued KWM2 Collins radio to call us someone stateside, and then they would illegally connect the radio to the phone lines, because Ma Bell did not like that, and make phone calls to family members. There were certain ham radio operators that didn't reverse the charges, because I never knew where in the United States I was going to get somebody. And one of my favorites was Barry Goldwater, K7UGA. That was his call sign. Walter Cronkite, Andy Devine, the cowboy.
Yeah.
I was trying to think. Oh, one of my friends, and we remained friends until he passed, was a guy named Paul Tibbets Jr. You ever heard of him?
No.
Well, he dropped an egg on Hiroshima.
Oh.
He flew the Enola Gay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, don't forget, tell me how you became
Okay.
Flander.
Yeah, I got off my rabbit trail. After Tet, there was we were decimated. We took an unbelievable number of casualties, and I was wounded along with everybody. It seemed like everybody out there in one degree or another. And Colonel Green was out there, and the colonel says, "Here's your orders." I said, "Orders, sir?" "Well, you're going to OCS. Please, sir, don't send me to the dark side." I don't want to go. Well, I went, and I came out in the top 10% of my class. I'd kind of Don refers to me as an overachiever.
He is.
How you get that, bro?
Truly he is.
And then they sent me right back to the boats. And then did boats and came up through the ranks. And as high as you can get as an LDO, limited duty officer, that's a prior enlisted back then, was lieutenant commander, and I made it in 4 years. And you don't do that in civilian life or in peacetime. The peacetime promotions are much more restrictive.
Yeah.
But then I had another admiral that I called him up on the phone and said, "Sir, I've got a son-in-law I hadn't met." He goes, "Okay, where is he?" "Well, he's on a frigate out in the Gulf, and I need some active duty time, being a reservist." And he says, "You hadn't met him?" I said, "No, sir." And the XO there is going to have to take leave for some personal thing, and I'll just take over as XO, and I've already contacted the skipper. Okay. So I got orders, and he thought, you're crazy going to a frigate. Those are little corks that bounce around in the water. And so I got out there, and I landed on the Truman, and they loaded me aboard a Lance helicopter, and they were taking me out to the frigates. The one day the seas are very angry, and they're going up and down, and the helicopter said, "Sir, I can't land." He says, "When's the last time you repelled?" As they threw me out the door. And I'm going, "Ah!" And my gear went out before me, and I saw it go thud, 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 and I'm going, "Oh no." And then I went down, and I bounced 2 or 3 times as the helicopter went up and the ship went down, and we smashed together, and I go, okay. So I got over that, and I reported to the captain, I stood up like, I meant to do that.
Awesome.
Yeah. And I was good. And so the captain wanted to know who my son-in-law was. And I told him he's next morning at quarters. The Navy has a thing called quarters at 0745. Everybody not actually on duty. The white hats are on the stern of this helicopter pad, the chiefs on one side, the officers on the other, and that particular day, it's normally the XO that reads the plan of the day. We call the pod. Well, the skipper was there because the XO was taken off, and I was standing over there in the side, and he went through all the mundane things, and then he got down to a point. He yelled out this guy's name. I'm not going to repeat his name, but his head pops up like a prairie dog in a prairie dog town, looking around. What in the world did I do wrong? And he called him front and center, and then he made him. The command master chief yelled, "About face!" Now he's facing this horseshoe of the crew, and it says, "Attention to orders." Everybody's heels click together, and they all stand tall. He said, "From Commanding Officer USS Simpson, FFG 56-2, Petty Officer. You are hereby ordered from the captain not to refer to Commander King as Daddy as long as he's on board this vessel. Do you understand?" Can you imagine what his life was like for the next 45 days as we bounced around the ocean? Thanks, your daddy.
That's funny. Donna, you've been married to Rex for 4 years, but
Yes.
today when you hear his stories, like we're sitting here listening, what goes to your heart and mind when you?
The first thing I think about is, how can this be so real? This is things you see in the movies, you see on TV, you read in the books, but to actually meet someone that lived it and lived it with integrity and honor and kept God at the head of all of it. And I just say that with everything that he lived through, that he's been through, he still continues to lead. And that's important.
Yeah.
That's important, that we still have leaders that believes in the values that the United States of America was built on to help lead the upcoming generations. So I look at him and I say, even at his age, he is still doing what he's done all his life. And it makes me very proud of him.
Yeah.
Makes me very proud of him. And besides that, I think he's cute.
Y'all didn't see it, but they were flirting like crazy while I was sitting on camera. I wish I would have, but no, that's beautiful. I mean, just as listening to, I was in my mind, I was like, I wonder what Donna feels like when she hears that. What, anything else you want to add to that?
Well, you want to share about our wedding? That called all my friends that I served with. Donna made me get my uniform for my.
Whenever he finally proposed, he said, now see, thing is he's Catholic and I'm a good little Baptist girl. He says he's a good little Irish Catholic boy. Well, I said, well, I'm a good little Baptist girl. And that was a clashing of two worlds. But praise God, we made it work. But in talking about the planning and everything, I said, I want you in your uniform. And what about some of your buddies that you served with? And when it was all said and done, we actually had 11 people there in uniform. Wow. At our wedding, and it meant a lot to me. I was not a part of his life back then, but he is still that man.
That's beautiful.
He is still that man.
And they flew in from all over the United States to be at the wedding. And
I think it's because they couldn't believe a Catholic was marrying a Baptist.
I was wondering about that, but these guys I served with at one point or another in my career, and we remained friends all these years. And when Donna invited them, there was no hesitation. Every one of them responded positively and showed up. And some had to lose a great deal of weight to get their uniforms on. Others went
They said
to Omar.
They shrunk in the closet.
Yeah, others went to Omar, the tent maker, got new uniforms.
Rex, when retirement came, was there a moment when you felt the shift and what changed internally for you?
Well, I felt like I was leaving my life. This is all I've known in my adult life, even in teenage life. But this is what I was used to. Discipline. When you talk to people and they say something to you, you take them for their word in the military. And I had to learn to question things in the civilian world. People say they're going to be there at a certain time and they don't show up until later. That wouldn't be tolerated in my world. And I have to get used to that. And disrespect. A lot of young people are very disrespectful still. If I have on a Vietnam veteran hat, I still get derogatory things said about me. And I thought, this isn't the world I lived in. My world was, every morning on base we had colors, and every child in base housing got off their swing sets and out of the play and stood at attention with hand over their heart. And I look out today, and I couldn't get a kid to even recognize the national anthem. And that's that a little hard on me, because I'm pretty patriotic about. I'm just kind of a flag waver. Am I not?
You are, rightfully so.
That's so that's so like, now, like you're mentioning, like you had you had a difficult transition, like a lot of veterans have difficult transitions.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. But you had 35 years. I didn't have 35 years, but what do you see when we talk about transition out, right? What is something you've learned that you've said that this is what I can hold on to, that maybe I can pass on to someone else?
Well, that was my amateur radio, because I've gotten on the air and I've located a vast number of veterans groups. If you were in the 3rd ID, if you were in the 2nd Armored, if you were at MLRS, if you were a submarine sailor, if you were SAC, whatever, there's a net on amateur radio for that. And there's that camaraderie of talking to fellow veterans who served. There's Vietnam vets, there's Gulf War vets, so people can support each other.
Yeah.
And and some people, but we recognize when we have an at-risk veteran on the net, and we assist them any way we can, and encourage them, especially those who have physical or mental, emotional issues. We try to, there's you don't see somebody's face when you're talking to them on the radio. So we don't know if they've lost an arm or a leg, or they're quadriplegic or a blind or any other disability. They're just the same person as they were when they were on active duty, and they're treated with that same respect. And that's, to them, is their highlight of the day, is getting on that radio and talking to people, because when they're talking, they paint a word picture. I learned that when I was 11 years old. I called them my magic boxes. I turn on the radios, and people in far off lands paint a picture to me called a word picture of what's going on. And even today, COVID-19 hit. During the pandemic, I talked to a freighter, one of these cargo container freighters. Container freighters. As I was talking to him on the radio, and I come to find out he and the crew have been quarantined on that freighter for 2.5 years. No television, no telephone, and in every port they pulled into, they had military, paramilitary, or military people there with machine guns or submachine guns pointing at them so they won't jump ship and spread the pandemic. So for 2.5 years, 18 people shared that big old gigantic freighter.
Yeah.
And he was so hungry to hear what was going on in the world because he had no news.
Wow. That's that I was going to ask you, like, when we talk about, like, the individuals out there, my question was going to be, is like, what are we talking about? Like, how many people, like, when you give me that story, it really resonates. Like, it's like a lot, many people from around the world. Is that right?
There's over 800,000 Americans who are licensed as amateur radio operators.
Wow.
Worldwide. It's close to 14 million.
Wow. That's insane. Okay, this is gonna be my promise. I'm gonna go where y'all live, and you're gonna show me what you do.
I would be happy to put you on the air.
The Doc Ballard, when we talked about that, I want to learn what y'all do, because that's a very. I just want to learn.
Well, do you remember a Medal of Honor recipient named Woody Williams?
Yes.
Well, he was a dear friend of mine for about 45, 50 years. And I'll tell you a real quick story. I lived in Wichita Falls at the time, had a ranch, and one of my trucks was what they call a medium duty truck. That's what I hauled the cattle to market in, because it was a big truck, 22.5 rims and all that.
Wow.
That was an international. And that was the only truck I had available that day to go pick up Woody at DFW Airport. So I get down there, and he just keeps looking up and up. Woody was not a tall, he was like 5'4". And so I put his gear in the back seat, and then I let the air out of the air ride seat so it wouldn't be such a harsh ride for him, because I didn't have a trailer on. And he climbed up 3 steps to get up into the cab, and then he sat down, and I had my radios on. As we pulled out of DFW Airport, there was a group of students talking to the International Space Station, because they're all licensed hams. Well, their class bell rang, and I asked if I could call the station. And he said, yes. I said, I have a Medal of Honor recipient. Well, I don't know who is more excited, the astronauts talking to a Medal of Honor recipient from World War II, or a World War II veteran who's talking to spacemen. And
What he called them.
he called them spacemen. And we bounced along up I-35. He's going up and down in the seat, and I'm driving and going, oh my. And he just kept talking, because everybody in the military is an RTO. So he had no problem push to talk, you know. And he told that story for the rest of his life about the day he was driving through Dallas talking to the spaceman.
Funny. Donna, when you met Rex, what did you sense about those years and the discipline? I'm sorry, let me read that again. When you met Rex, what did you sense about those years and that discipline had shaped him?
When I first met Rex, let's get let's get straight here. I didn't think he was cute at all. I didn't. But what I saw was a man that revered family, fiercely patriotic, fiercely faithful. And as I started learning, because the first time I met him, he had a Vietnam vet hat on. So obviously he's a Vietnam veteran. And I knew about Vietnam. I had not studied it a lot, but it made me realize that as I'm hearing this stuff, what this man lived through, and it made me realize what that said about the man that he was inside. Because what was inside was what people were seeing on the outside. It wasn't a fake front.
Yeah.
He was who he said he was. And he didn't have to, there was no braggadocious about it. It was just when asked, he would answer a question. And being on the outside, remember, I didn't think he was cute. Being on the outside over here, I'm watching this. Because when I first met him is because the TV show my family and I was on. And he would come to the weekly watch parties when a new season was coming out. And that's where I met him for the first time and got to know him. Well, when you just meet someone once a week, and that would be, excuse me, for 13 Friday nights as each new episode aired, then we'd take a while off, then the next season would come out. Well, by little, it started building a word picture, actually.
Wow.
It was like a word picture of who this man was, where he had been, and what he stood for. And I was honored to know someone of that stature. Now, my dad served in the National Guard and was mobilized during the Cuban crisis.
Yeah.
And my uncle had served in the Army. And so at that point, I did have 2 nephews that had been in the Marines. So I did have a taste of some of the military world, but nothing to the degree of listening to him talk as the subject would come up or someone would ask him a question.
Yeah. As you were listening, and as you're sitting here, Rex, one of the biggest things too about this podcast, I wanted to honor, it's an honor to have you here, because I wanted to document some of the history as well, and then you're sharing that today. We talked about Shiloh Harris, right? And
Yeah.
and you guys know him.
Oh yeah.
And the person, what's striking to me is you have, there are some veterans that struggle at post deployment, and of course Shiloh has his own injuries to deal with.
Yes.
But one of the things, and this is for you, Don, like, I can't, Shiloh has a magnetic personality,
He
like
does.
charm and humor and laughter and fun, and then what he's been through, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was part of what when you met Rex, were you concerned about that, or was that energy, that magnetism was there? When was he was attending your shows and stuff like that?
Energy and magnetism was there. And he laughed a lot. He still laughs a lot. And I think whenever, now this is my personal take on it, Rex will have to correct me if I'm wrong.
I wouldn't dare.
I know I'll hook your legs. But when a person has lived through, seen, done, witnessed, be a part of, whatever he was called upon to do, how much worse could your life be? To me, it's everything after that had to be for the better. And I think that's how he started viewing it. He saw so much bad, was involved in so much bad, but was following his orders. He chose to go with, I'm going to be happy, I'm going to live life, and I'm going to move forward. Did I say that right? Would you agree with that?
Honor God. Faith in God brought me through all that too.
But
Yeah. I made a choice to.
you made a choice to, okay, I've seen enough bad. Let's live for as best we can, good, and to be happy. And
Took
there,
a lot of prayer.
that and you drank a lot in military.
Yeah, I did. I kept several liquor companies in business in Vietnam. They sent me sympathy letters when they.
When you quit drinking.
Yeah, I quit drinking. I literally quit drinking after Vietnam. I just the smell of liquor just takes me back to a place I don't want to be. And I drank an enormous amount. Well, people have to cope. Some people smoked. I didn't.
Yeah.
Other people, took drugs and stuff. After I drank. I drank to excess, and I admit it. And then I prayed a lot, and I needed God's help. And I just cold turkey one day. I said, I'm not going to drink another drop.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. That's I think a lot of veterans hear this right now. Like a lot of guys, doesn't matter if you're a veteran or not.
Yeah.
If if you're dealing with you have a coping mechanism that you turn to. I certainly have done that myself. And what to hear you say, I think it's going to penetrate a lot of hearts and minds today for sure. Let's talk about faith. Okay, that's the next thing we're talking about.
Oh boy.
And it's for both of you. Okay, faith clearly plays a role in your lives, right? When no one is watching, what does prayer look like in your home?
I think can I go first?
You certainly may. You're lucky.
I think the passage in the Bible that says pray without ceasing.
Yeah.
That's the first thing that comes to my mind when I hear you ask the question, because it doesn't matter whether we're trying to figure out to drive to Georgia or pray over the food. You should always pray without ceasing. So we pray about everything. And people may think, well, that's stupid. No, it's not. Try it. You'll like it.
Mm-hmm.
It brings you answers. The biggest thing it brings is peace. So we pray together. We pray separately. We pray over food. Wouldn't you say a big impact we make out in public is praying over the food?
Oh yeah, if we're at a restaurant or something, people just look at us because we hold hands and pray. And I use a Hallow app every day, several times a day sometimes. It has a lot of scripture every day and it takes you on a path through the Bible. And I think 1.8 million people or something have got it here so far. And it helps me. I get up in the morning and I turn it on, and my hearing aids are connected to my phone, so I get to listen to it. I get up a little before Donna, don't I?
He gets up. Did you know? I thought there was only one 4 o'clock on the, and that was 4 p.m. Evidently done to 4 a.m.
That sounds like me too. I'm the first one up. I get up at like 4.
Well, yeah, it's a military thing. When I joined the Navy, I thought I was going on vacation because my parents owned restaurants in Wichita Falls, and I worked day and night. And up sometimes 11 o'clock at night. And then I'd get up and go to school the next morning after I went and got meat down in Fort Worth and drove back. And I worked like that, carrying 55-gallon metal trash cans out, dumping them and scrubbing them every day. And those, military alarm clocks, for those who don't know. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, I joined the Navy, and they said, you're going to bed at 9 o'clock. What? And you're getting up at 5. I get to sleep in, And everybody else is having trouble with the rifles out there and the grinder doing their exercises. I was just having a great time.
That's funny. I want to stay on this on relationship with prayer.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think that was one of the other things that really you inspired me with too. Is what I said. I want to touch on that because how important it is, and we think about just from the veteran community, military community, or soldier spouse.
Unfinished business, stand up tall.
How important is it for us to integrate that aspect into the advocacy for veterans?
That's paramount.
No, I agree with Rex. People say, well, when should we pray? Well, you better pray before you get out of the car to go into a store. There are so many times that I've gotten ready to go into a store as an example, and y'all don't think I'm crazy, and that's all right.
I looked inside for the truth, found whispers in the dark, reflections of my former self, trying to leave his mark, but looking inward only shows the echo of the past. I gotta turn my gaze to others, build bridges that will last. People in the mirror aren't the only souls I need to meet. Empathy's the key, the rhythm for the heat. When I reach out, I can grow, I can learn to unify. From isolation to connection, see the world through someone else's eyes. No longer trapped inside a room, I'm stepping out, I'm stepping up. Collective heart, collective mind, feel the pulse, feel the love.
I go in and I might run into somebody that I hadn't seen in a while. Well, how you doing? And if you don't ask that sincerely, you're going to get a sincere answer if it's ordained of God. And they're like, well, it's not been good. Well, do you mind if I pray for you?
Yeah,
Do you pray for me now? And I said, sure, I will. And whenever you walk that out, then you're being obedient. And a lot of people don't understand this. When you talk about tithes and offerings, we've recently had conversation about time, talent, and treasure.
We talked a lot about that, yes.
Time, talent, and treasure. So now, believe it or not, when I took my time to be obedient and talk with that person, pray with that person, or just give them it's going to be all right. Don't worry about it, it's going to be all right. Encouragement. Do you realize you're sowing seed?
Yeah.
You're sowing seed in the ground. Because anything that you do is seed. And a harvest is going to come up, whether it's good, bad, or, well, there ain't no this good or bad. It's your choice. So that's how I view prayer. How do you view prayer, Rex?
Well, one of the things that I've been doing is praying, empty me, Lord, empty me of every evil, every sin, every bad thing, and then fill me with your righteousness, Lord, and then use me. Empty me, fill me, use me. I want to be, and Donna and I do this about everything we do, whether we consciously say those words, but just by what we do when we talk is empty us, Lord. Then fill us with you so we can do and use us in the community and beyond.
But one thing I want to add on to that is when you do this with the right heart,
Yeah.
you're also sowing seed in the people that's watching. You not only sowed seed in that life that you prayed for, but you're sowing seed in the people that's watching. And that's being a role model.
Yeah.
And that's what we're all called to do, is to help mentor up the upcoming generations.
That's why y'all are here. You know, like y'all were putting prayers up, and I was reading it, and I was like, you know, knowing, you know, just, you know, military commander, military, integrating a prayer life into the community on social media and stuff like that. One of the things that drew me to y'all was like, I need to get, well, we're going to sit down. I'm going to get these guys in, sit down and talk about Jesus Christ. We're going to talk
Right.
about prayer. We're going to talk about faith. We're going to talk about your lives. And yeah, I mean, that's God honest truth. It's what actually inspired me to invite y'all, because I wanted to see, you know, I have a friend that sends me prayers privately in the chat, and they're really powerful prayers, you know. And you're like, this was right on time, God. Like, this is what I need to hear. So just know that I love that. And the next question I have for you is, has there been a private season when faith steadied you through uncertainty?
Oh, yeah, they both have that. Go ahead, sweetheart.
Again, this goes right back to when you get up in the morning, you either believe God can or God can't. You have to make a conscious choice. And I was dealing with financial struggles. This was before I knew Rex. Remember, even before then, I didn't think he was cute. I was dealing with some financial struggles. And I had to make a decision. I either paid my electric bill or I gave my tithe at church. Even as bad as things has gotten, and let me add in there, a lot of it was from my own doings. But he will meet you where you're at, trust me. I had to make a decision. So I said, Lord, I just figured out something. I can live without electricity, but I can't live without you. So forget the electric bill. I gave my tithe and offering with a prompt to do it, cheerful attitude.
Yes. Oh,
You don't run up there and throw the money down there and hope the pastor and everybody else sees how much you throw in there. No. And I said, Lord, I can't live without you, but I can do it without electricity if it comes down to it.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, out of nowhere, my electric bill got paid. And then increase came to me that from an area I wasn't even expecting. So I learned a very valuable lesson. You cannot outgive God.
amen.
I don't care how hard you try. I don't care how tall you are, how big you are, or how bad you are. You can't do it. I tried.
You can't.
Rex, you want to add to that?
Well, my wife passed away.
Not me.
Not this one. Oh, no. No, I just laid hands on her. Oh, and it took me to it's amazing when you lose a spouse, and it was, no matter how long it took for her to pass, and this is the long goodbye thing, all that. Alzheimer's is never good. And she had other physical health issues as well. And so for over 12 years, it was very trying. And she passes. One of the things you learn is all your couple's friends lost your phone number. They don't invite you out for dinners anymore. Well, because you don't have your spouse. They don't invite you over for, anything. All social contacts just went away. So it added to my isolation. And I went to a very dark place. I didn't know what to do. But I did have faith in God. And I kept, and as Donna says, we pray constantly. And I prayed Lord, help me. I didn't know what the Lord was going to help me with, but I just asked for his help. It's best not to be specific because God's got better ideas than I do.
Yeah.
And
He's a better quarterback.
yeah, he is. And I love Donna's TV show. The reason why at the time, it was affordable remodels that our veterans could afford. They were auctioning off these houses, and it became the #1 show on AFN.
And I had no idea.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what AFN was.
Armed Forces Network, for everybody that doesn't know.
I didn't know that right.
But we were at the commissioning of the Woody Williams his ship. I needed a +1. This is before we got married.
He still wasn't cute.
No, and her daddy. Her daddy started it off. I think he was a match.
Go back to the ship.
Well, anyway, we were on the ship, and 2 chief petty officers came up. They were huge fans of her show. I got a picture with them.
Oh, wow.
And they said it was the only show on, on these fixer-upper things that a serviceman could afford. Because they were auctioning off houses without land, 35, 50,000, something like that, for a 3-bedroom house. That's not bad.
Yeah.
No.
And then when they put them on 1-acre lots, they were getting 100,000 for them, or a little over in some cases, because they put a mother-in-law house behind. But the veterans were just overjoyed. Something we can afford. And that's one of the things. But her daddy Daddy kept saying, well, Donna, I don't want Donna going to this without a +1. And I said, oh, okay. So I'm supposed to ask her out? Yeah. And then the Snowmageddon happened, and her house froze.
It did.
It was no power, and without power, nothing worked. And so we're over at her folks' house, and they had a huge fireplace going. And they said, we don't have any problems. We can do this. And no, Donna can't stay here. Oh. So we loaded up Donna. I had a big 4-bedroom house up in Denton at the time. It was just me. So I had power. And so I loaded her up and took her up there. And that was her first opportunity. And it was God's work. I introduced her to amateur radio because I was doing health and welfare messages. People needing insulin. People couldn't get to the hospital.
Firewood, too.
Firewood. Power lines were down. Everything. So I was dispatching amateur radio operators saying, here, they need insulin at this address out here. And they got a message out to us. And we were getting things going. And we did it round the clock. And Donna was just, wow.
That's an amazing story. Okay, you're 2 steps ahead of me, Rex. Years later, you both shared a love for amateur radios.
Yes.
I guess, I kind of know from Rex's standpoint what drew him into amateur radio because he's been doing it his whole life. But what is for Donna? What does amateur radio give to you right now, or just has it given to you?
A lot of different things. One of the things is it gives me the ability to speak to people. I like to speak to women's groups, churches, corporate retreats. I like to do all types of speaking because it's supposed to be encouraging. Yeah. Well, when you get on a net, which is like saying a club, if you will, and it's people from all across the United States. And you get on there and just like as an example, I'll just give you an example. One of the net control operators, his name is WC. His call sign is N5BRL. So, in Hamilton, Mississippi. And I just love it. He will say, this is N5BRL, and I'm calling the snowbird net to order. I just love it. But I get to talk to these people, and you share a minute or two, because there's a long line of people that want to talk on that net. And they talk every night. And so I'll talk about what I've been doing. These people, I found out, they love to hear me talk about if I'm out back in the arena helping the kids, or when I'm going on a trip, or we was over here with Doc Ballard doing this, or we was over there at the rodeo doing that. And even though it's short talks, I still get to talk. And Lord knows I can talk.
And all the listeners.
Oh, yes. One of the things, too, that Rex didn't hit on a while ago, there's also what's called SWL, shortwave listeners. For whatever reason, they can't or don't want to talk, but they listen. And that's around the world. And that is literally in the millions upon millions that people can hear you. There is nets for, as he said, everything you can think of in the military. There's also missionary nets, prayer groups,
Yep.
rodeo groups that travel. Anything you can think of, there is a net out there, and it's a form of communication. And people will say, oh, that's CB, right? CB radio? No, no, it's not. This is something that's definitely take the elevator and go to the penthouse floor. For communication.
Yeah.
And for CB, you're talking within just a few miles.
Yeah.
Whereas amateur radio, I'm talking across the United States from my house.
Wow.
I mean, Rex had a tower put in, and I've been putting that tower growth stuff on it where when I feed my roses, I would feed the tower, and it's up to 72 feet right now, Rush. And I'm going to keep putting growth on it, hormones.
Oh, yeah.
But depending upon atmospheric conditions, I can talk anywhere. I was in my truck, my pickup, and I got a radio this big. And I'm talking, I'm letting them know W5SML, which is my call sign. I said W5SML, monitoring. That means, hey, I'm here. Does anybody want to talk to me? All of a sudden, I'm talking to this man, and I look up, and it's like, it says how far that, he's over 6,000 miles away. He's in Japan. I've talked to Japan out of my truck. I've talked to Australia. I've talked to Pearl Harbor. I've talked to England.
Wow. Yeah. I can't wait. We're gonna have to figure out when I come down and see.
Oh, we'd love to. And one of the things that Doc works with us on is helping veterans get licensed. And there's a company that makes a program that you can do at home.
At your own pace.
At your own pace. And it's a video program. And it's called hamradioprep.com. And if you enter the discount code of Medal of Honor, MOH, just the letters MOH, they give you a discount. And then they can, within 10 hours, you can have a license. And the next level up, it's going to take another 10 hours. Next level up from that, 15 hours. And you can do it at your own, and there's only 3 levels of license. They give you more frequencies to talk on each level. And Doc Ballard, Medal of Honor recipient, his birthday is December 5th. We were both born in December, just a couple years apart. And he turned 80. And in 2 weeks, he got his general class license. That's the tech, and then he went to general in 2 weeks. That's 2 stages. And he's eating this thing up. He gets on the radio like he was a Wolfman Jack or something. He gets on.
He sees the importance.
Oh, yes.
What this means to his brothers and sisters.
I can't wait to witness it myself. Honestly, I'm very excited to come down and check it out.
Oh,
And that was one thing I thought about, like a month ago. I was like, man, I want to see what they do. Like, I want to get down and go check it out. And
love to have y'all.
Anytime.
Besides that, we do barbecue.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's go next week. I'll be there tomorrow.
Well, last April, we had got a phone call from Linda Patterson her husband's Robert Patterson, 101st with a Medal of Honor.
Yeah.
And she calls us up and says, Rex, Bob's turning 77. I'd like to have a birthday party over at your place while we're in town. I said, well, how many? Oh, maybe 10, maybe a little bit more. Then she called back and said, Rex, it's up to, I invited 50 people. Really? And what kind of rodeo can you put on? Rodeo. Okay. Well, it won't be a rodeo. It'll be a show-deo because we're not doing money.
Bucket of stone.
But I still have to get rough stock, to do a show-deo for steer wrestling. And
Just for steer wrestling.
and then, well, Rex, my list grew again. Really? It's up to 100. 100. And that meant porta-johns because our septic system's not going to handle 100 people. And they said, what kind of barbecue are you having? and who's the live entertainment? And
I called some friends of mine and got them to come in.
oh my gosh. Well, our credit cards are on life support for 4 months.
But you got Robert Patterson. He got in there on the amateur radio, and he was talking to different places.
Oh yeah, and he was eating it up. And some of the pictures we got, it's amazing how it's all girls and Bob.
Yes.
There's like 50, 60 girls and Bob.
Okay. Before we wrap up, you had introduced a book. You were talking.
Yes.
Let's talk about your book.
Okay.
I have a couple more questions and we'll wrap.
All righty.
Oh, to the camera. Yeah, show it up, lift it up to the.
This is Texas Rodeo and Radios. It's going to be a series. This is book number 1 called Down at the No Gotti. Now, this is what's considered a cozy novel. If you're old enough to read, you can read it. There's nothing ugly or risque in there, I guess I should say.
Mm-hmm.
It's about, I'm going to say it's about 90% true.
Wow.
I took a bunch of my rodeo kids. This is the true part. I took a bunch of my rodeo kids and I got them licensed. And that because there had been an incident that happened. Well, they take their amateur radio license and they help solve a mystery. And there is an array of characters in this book that I think that you will absolutely love. I've not gotten anybody that's read it that hated it. Everybody loved it and they want to know when's the sequel coming out. And it's an easy read. And actually, I brought this for you and your lovely wife
Thank you.
to have. And also, I'm going to give you my bookmark, and it has my QR code on there, so to get you to where you're going, you can watch for when the sequel comes out.
Okay.
People can go to DonnaSnowKing.com and go through the shop deal, and you can get the book. The hardcovers are $35. The paperbacks are $20, plus shipping.
30.
I'm sorry, the hardcovers are $30 and the paperbacks are $20. And a portion of the proceeds goes to Air Power Foundation. Rex and I are both ambassadors, and I think you are too, aren't you?
Yeah.
Welcome to the family.
Thank you so much.
And then a portion of the proceeds for the sale of the book goes to Triumph at SpiritFoundation.org, which is Colonel Ballard, Medal of Honor recipient, where he's trying to help get radios and veterans licensed. So, yes, that's what this is for. And I'm working on the book number 2 right now. And in prayer,
Oh, there you go.
in prayer, God's already given me book number 3 and book number 4.
Wow.
So I'm excited about that. So help us out.
And Doc's a character.
Oh, well, besides being a character,
Well, yeah, he truly is.
Doc and Rex are in this book. And everything that's in this book concerning them is also true.
Wow.
So I would appreciate y'all checking it out.
I don't know if I think I told you this. Thank you for sharing that. And I think I told you this or not. I think I said, I remember telling, I think one of y'all that I said, I saw y'all at the rodeo on the big jumbos.
Uh-huh.
Did I tell you that?
I think it was Rex.
I think I told you, right? I saw y'all, like I was with Melissa and
Miss Ladabi, yeah.
Melissa Dobby, and we were all sitting in a different area, and you were on the screen. Okay, man, I see you. Yeah, invite these people.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I saw y'all. You were there, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I want to be. I hope I invited the wrong people.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. No, but yeah, I saw y'all, and I was like, okay.
Well, at least I wasn't kissing somebody other than my wife.
Yeah, right.
I wouldn't do that. I don't want to get my legs whipped.
No, and Donna, I want to talk more about your show at another time if we can.
Sure.
If you're on, I think I have another podcast. It's called Next Level Thinkers, a Charting New Horizons of Brilliance podcast, which is about innovators in their space, thought leaders, trailblazers, and I think you would fit in that podcast as well.
I would love that. The show that we will talk about at a future date. The show was all about what I'd been doing all my life. My daddy, other than the home that our parents brought me to when I was born, I've never lived in a house that we didn't move in, not mobile homes, but house. And we fixed up ourselves.
Including the one we live in now.
Yes, because Daddy taught us, all three of us kids, there's more to life than making house payments.
Now,
And that-
yeah, go ahead.
Hold on.
Yes,
Is there, mister? Let him finish the thought there. Cute looking sailor, you.
Oh, take me home.
He said, you can do these things yourself. And that way you're never at the mercy of somebody else. So that's
For
one.
the people who don't know, what your show, what's the show? Your show?
The name of the show is Texas Flip and Move. Okay. Texas Flip, then the letter N, Move. And I believe it's on, you can get it, I don't know if you can still get it on Amazon.
Yeah, I think.
And maybe Netflix, I don't know.
YouTube.
YouTube, maybe it's YouTube, yes.
Now tell them about how our house that we live in today got to where it is in the path.
It won't take me but
Okay, right here.
okay, faster than a minute and swim a dipper, right?
Okay.
I found this house.
I'm going to have to replay this and rewind to what did she say?
I found this house and I bought it. I gave too much money for it. I gave $5,500. And it was in the middle of what was fixing to be turned into a really big lake.
Ray Roberts.
Lake Ray Roberts. And so I had the ability and the equipment to pick the building up and move it in one piece. However, the state of Texas said that won't fit in the roads. So I had to cut my house. I had to cut it into 3 pieces.
Wow.
So we was coming down the road. I get to my land and I put the first piece there. I got my second driver coming around and kind of line it up right there. And I keep standing there and there's Billy sitting over there with the third piece of the house. My daddy walks up and says, you waiting on an engraved invitation or what? And I said, Daddy. He said, what is it, Donna? I can cover the tone in your voice. I said, sir, the master bedroom and bath isn't exactly what I want. I know how to handle the rest of the house. But he said, you know what to do? And I said, yes, sir. He said, so what's the hesitation? He says, I'm trying to figure out how far to set that third load out there because I'm going to build in between load 2 and load 3, which I did. So now my house from left to right is 100 feet, 3,000 square foot, and praise God, don't owe a penny on it or the land.
Wow.
Yes.
Amazing.
And there's a whole lot more to that story. I'll tell you another time.
Yeah.
We're going to wrap up with this question. Get into more serious now with regards to veterans. We know that Rex, both of y'all can give just say whatever you feel is in your heart.
Mm-hmm.
If a veteran feels disconnected from purpose, from people, or from faith, what would you want them to understand about this season of life? Rex?
Well, I always tell the veterans that I meet like that are struggling, that first and foremost, God, bring God into your life. And I'm Catholic, but that doesn't mean they have to be. I just need them to understand that God is there and God is going to forgive your sins. And it doesn't mean you get to go out and do them all over again, but the ones you ask for God's forgiveness and sincerely from your heart, and He will forgive your sins. And then the next thing you need to do is continue to pray. Because if you don't continue to pray, you'll fall back into those bad habits and those things that are going to hurt you. And then find something with purpose. Do you like to write? ham radio is another one. Do you like to, Donna crochets. And I've known a lot of guys that do that because it's repetitious and it helps them concentrate because you have to really concentrate. And some like to paint. Whatever it is, with God's help, you can accomplish it. And that's what we do. No one thought we'd ever get married, except your daddy.
Yeah. For longest, you wasn't even cute to me.
No. And then her daddy, well, there's a story.
He don't want to hear
Yeah,
about
there's
that.
stories that
That's
go with
another
that.
time. That's
But
another time.
like the toothache,
But I do crochet. I crochet toboggans, beanie hats for homeless veterans and street people for Street People Ministries.
Wow.
There's my advice to veterans, if I come across any, is we need to have a checkup from the neck up. Okay, let's get it out here and let's see what we're dealing with. And it's just like you said, without fail, you're going to find something in there that they used to do, or they've always wanted to try to do. Maybe it could be ham radio. Maybe it is painting. Maybe it's skiing. Maybe it's going swimming. Maybe it's jogging or bicycling. You don't know, but you help them discover that new normal because the old normal just went out the window.
Yeah.
and Rush, if you'd like to see more of Texas, we do have bulls that you can ride.
That's never been ridden.
That's never been ridden.
Since you've
and
never ridden one.
You can ride it, and you'll see miles and miles of Texas.
If people want to get a hold of you, where can they go? Is it websites? I know you guys have some websites.
They can go to donnasnowking.com. That's where my book is. Or you can also email me at donnasnowking@icloud.com.
Awesome.
Me, my call sign is W5EAK at iCloud.com. And we both have ham radio web pages.
Mm-hmm.
If you'll go to QRZ.com, and then up in the upper left-hand area, there's a window, and enter Donna's call sign, W5SML, my call sign, W5EAK, or Doc's call sign, W0MOH. What a call sign for non-recipient, you know.
Yeah.
W0MOH. And Donna has been a ham for 5 years. And how about 8.9 million people follow her on that
It
page?
has looked me up.
Wow.
It's looked me up.
That's very cool. Well, guys, I want to tell you thank you so much for coming from where you at?
Hazlitt.
Hazlitt.
Thank you for coming from Hazlitt to all the way over here. I hope feel this podcast was worth that.
Absolutely.
Okay, now.
Yes.
And I just want to tell you, it's such an honor and be a blessing for you to be in our home, number one. Number two, bringing your spirit into our home and filling this room up with all the joy and everything that you represent. I'll say it again. It was the prayers that's it. You know, we're going to have a conversation about how prayer can be instituted in our lives, especially when the veterans face in the mud. And then we just add on your journeys and how blessed you've been in your lives too. So I feel blessed to hear that.
Well, it's been an honor. Thank you for inviting us.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
And by the way, now I think he's cute.
Oh.
In case anybody's wondering, yes, I think he's cute.
It took her a while. Yeah.
All right, guys, that's it for Unfinished Business, a podcast for veterans pursuing new life missions. As always, say, have peace and light in you. And remember that the ocean refuses no river.
That's right.
Amen.
Well,
That's a wrap.